All right, good morning, Kansas City. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Yeah, we're ready to go. Welcome to 1 Million Cups. Most of you probably know where you are, but in case you don't, we bring entrepreneurs together each week to talk about their companies and then give you the opportunity to ask questions. So listen closely as people talk and be ready to ask. My name is Kyle. I'm one of your organizers. These are the rest of them: Courtney, Anna, Luke, and Zach. We thank you all for coming. Next, I would like to introduce you to our expert panel, who will ask questions first after our presentation. So first up, Tommy Saunders.
Hi, Tommy Saunders. My company is called Feudum Fitness. It just stands for everybody who doubts me. We're a fitness tech company that integrates technology into in-home fitness products.
Hi, my name is John Kors. I work for a company called Damascus. We help medium-sized corporations that want to innovate. We help stand up their labs and teach them how to work through corporate innovation.
My name is Shiwen Su. I'm from Taiwan. My company is doing video recruiting so people can record their videos from their smartphone, and companies can view their videos to see who they want to start an interview.
I'll take that from you. Thank you. I forgot one thing. Can you raise your hand if this is your first time at 1 Million Cups? Excellent. Welcome. Thank you so much for coming. Our first presenter, I will introduce you to Miguel Johns with KingFit.
How's it going, guys? Welcome to KingFit, diabetes prevention powered by artificial intelligence. Now, my name's Miguel Johns. I've got my degree in exercise science, and I got into exercise science because my father has type 2 diabetes, my grandmother has type 2 diabetes, and my grandfather died of a heart attack. So it was pretty much my calling from the beginning, and I started dabbling a little bit in personal training and actually spent a year as a college strength and conditioning coach at my alma mater, Indiana State. But in the winter of 2013, I took a trip to Key West, and if you've been to Key West, you know how life-changing that could be. And I decided I needed to create a little bit of freedom for myself because I was working 15-hour days as a personal trainer and a strength coach with very little vacation time. So 6 months after that trip, I came up with the idea of KingFit. Now, KingFit started as an apparel brand, and I had this idea that I wanted to create really cool motivational videos, and we were going to sell some apparel and hopefully train 50 to 100 people online. It was going to be a great time, and everything I was reading talked about create extra sources of income, so that was my way to do so. But 6 months after I started releasing some apparel, selling some shirts, I was in my chronic disease and illness class at Indiana State, and we came across a documentary called Escape Fire. Is anybody in here familiar with Escape Fire? Oh, great documentary. Definitely check it out if you're interested in healthcare at all. Escape Fire is all about the current situation of healthcare in the United States. And as most of us probably know, it's in flames right now. Physicians are seeing 30 patients a day, getting to spend 5 minutes with them, and not being able to offer them any real solutions. Low-income, underserved communities are suffering greatly from chronic illness like heart disease, type 2 diabetes, and they see no real solution in their future to be able to help them out of their current situation. So that gave me the idea, what if we could create a service that partnered with physicians and guided their type 2 diabetic patients or pre-diabetic patients through lifestyle change interventions that led to overall improved well-being, instead of putting somebody like my father on insulin for 30 years and slowly watching their health decline. Now, the first version of our service that we put out was put together using multiple tools such as Zapier, MailChimp, Shopify, and others. It was completely automated. It delivered 16 weeks of emails, 32 videos, 16 health forms where we collected data, got information on the end user, and 112 text messages, 100% automated. And now, while that was very fun, the science of bootstrapping is a good time, I quickly realized that Kansas alone has 300,000 type 2 diabetics and 800,000 pre-diabetics, and a service that could handle 5,000 to 10,000 people was good, but not good enough. And that's when I came across IBM Watson Health. Now, IBM is doing some amazing things in making technologies that used to only be accessible to large corporations accessible to everybody, and allowing people to purchase those packages and build on top of them. That brought us to the new KingFit Hub for Health and Wellness, where our vision was to create a community modeled off Facebook and Twitter that connected the user to physicians, chiropractors, physical therapists, grocery stores, community events such as yoga in the park. It also integrated with our favorite tools like MyFitnessPal, Fitbit, Garmin. It was extremely user-friendly like FitMenCook, FitStar, and of course, it was powered by IBM Watson Health, so to serve 1 million type 2 diabetics, we didn't need 10,000 coaches. Now, companies like Omada Health and Retrofit have proven the possibility of taking diabetes prevention online, and although they're way too expensive for the people who really need the services, they've shown that it is possible to scale a service like ours and work with insurance companies and physicians alike, but they're still missing the mark. In health and wellness today, everything is focused on exercise more and eat healthy, which we all know we need to do, so why don't people do it? Well, the problem lies in an individual's mind. We can't take old methodologies that haven't worked and throw fancy technology on top of them and think that we're just going to find a solution. We've got to be able to change the way people think, because right now when you think of healthy living, you think of deprivation from the fun stuff. When you think of physical activity, you think of misery. No way I could enjoy physical activity every single day of my life. And a lot of people do not think that they can reach their goals when they start out on a program. And this is all information we are collecting with our first version of our service. So we knew that not only did we need to build powerful technology, our methodologies needed to be able to influence the way people thought about themselves and what they thought possible with their overall health. So today we have started on this application with Clutch Studio in Wichita, Kansas. Pipeline's very own Carlos Fernandez founded that company. He's doing a very good job. We've started a partnership with the YMCA. We've been endorsed by the American Diabetes Association. I am getting ready to enter Wichita's very first accelerator program, E2E, ran by Jake, who's a huge member of 1 Million Cups. And we began a partnership with Ascension Health. Ascension Health owns 165 hospitals throughout the United States in 24 different states. They focus on low-income, underserved communities, and they see huge potential in our health platform, mostly because we'll deliver our diabetes prevention program for less than $5 per month. Thank you.
Hey, great presentation. Can you just tell me a little bit about how your previous program is different than this program?
So the methodologies are very similar. When we actually build our platform, they'll just have more tools on top of the video series that we're delivering to them. So when we put together our video series, we're pulling them from the gurus, Dr. Kelly McGonigal, Dr. Ahmed Sood, taking their methodologies and shortening those books that people don't have time to read into 10-minute videos. The videos will still be delivered in the same format. They'll just be put into a much fancier platform with added tools on top. The original program didn't have an application behind it. We're using Excel sheets, online forms to collect data and allow people to track their metrics.
So just like you said, I definitely believe that it starts with somebody's mindset, right? So how, if I sign up for this program, that's taking the first step, how do you go from, them not caring about their health to sign up for the program and then start getting them to watch the videos and consume all the content? Because if I don't consume the content, then I'm not getting value, then I'm not paying for it.
Yep. So with us, it's very important that an individual themselves is looking for the change at least. They don't need to be 100% convinced that they can make the change. But now we start to plant seeds of new ideas of this is possible, talk about new science, talk about microbiome, epigenetics, and the possibilities of really creating better health for yourself and kind of change their idea of I've got to eat, manage my calories, I've got to count macros and do these things that are just completely out of date. And we focus on planting the new ideas. And for some people, they don't catch. And for other people, it's just like a wildfire, how it springs into excitement and how they're ready to see what's next and what's coming. But our main focus is if they take the interest in at least watching that first video that we give them, then we're going to plant those seeds in a way that sparks new ideas in their mind and creates a new perception of what's possible for themselves.
And can you talk about the business model? How are you making money and how are you acquiring customers?
So right now, our goal is to sell our $54.99 program and its memberships. So you sign up, 4-month contract or 8-month contract, and you're just doing a regular membership fee. When the application and the platform comes out, then that price will drop significantly just because of the tools we have behind it. Our biggest source of clientele comes from companies like Ascension Health, where they just give us one check up front, and then all of their clients have access to the program. But we also use regular email nurtures, online marketing, Google AdWords, and those sorts.
You mentioned a certain specific type of person that can be activated by what you're doing. And you also mentioned some pretty big numbers around people with diabetes. Mm-hmm. Can you talk about who is that very specific customer you're targeting that you think you have the best chance of activating into your program?
Yep. So the best person for us is the person who's just gone to the physician's office and the physician tells them either you're at risk for type 2 diabetes or you've got type 2 diabetes and here's the next steps for you. That's going to be the person who knows, okay, this is serious now, what are my best options? And the physician then writes the prescription for our service. Now, right now it's referral based. You have to get FDA approved to get the prescription written, but that is our next step, is for the physician to be able to easily write the prescription, and now they can get access to our program. And if they're an insurance company like Ascension Health, then they can be reimbursed if they show results.
Got it. What have your initial results been? Seems like you've done some results.
Yep.
Can you talk about activation rate, conversion rates? How long have they stayed with your program? And any other customer feedback you've got around that?
Yes. So with the current program that we ran just 2 regular pilot studies. The first one had 12 people involved, and the second one had 25 people involved. We had 2 superstars in each group. One female lost 42 pounds over the 16 weeks. Another female lost 33 pounds over the 16 weeks. But the rest, it was very average in the 8 to 10 pound range, which is still very beneficial to their health. Our main goal, we really don't focus on weight. We actually don't weigh them in. Our goal is to track their habits, mostly their negative habits. So we tell an individual if we can track, say, your indulgences, which would be foods that are doing harm to your body, if we watch that number slowly decline to the point where it's much easier for you at the end of the program to incorporate healthy decisions into your daily routine, then that's a win for us. We haven't decided what our metric is going to be for an Ascension Health or a physician clinic who's going to want to see some real data. But if we have to incorporate weight at that time, we will. I just really don't like to. With my experience, it just adds a lot of stress to the individual.
Got it. Last question. You made a lot of changes and tweaks to this program. Mm-hmm. So you're obviously listening to customers. When do you know you need to change again? What are you looking for to know, hey, this isn't quite working, I've got to switch a little bit more?
So the way our program's set up, we do a lot of wellness journals, which is great for us. Although it's embedded in the program and the individual sees it as something that's going to improve their health, we're getting real-time feedback 24/7. So we're reading the information. Are these videos resonating with them? Is this information sticking? Are they completing the assignments? But we're also sending out surveys once a month to see what technologies would you like added to our platform as we begin developing it, and not only with the end user, but also with healthcare professionals. I've talked to 10 physicians. What would make this platform beneficial to you? I've talked to chiropractors, physical therapists. The YMCA's played a huge role in how it would be beneficial to their organization, and just identifying how can we build this thing together before we pour $200,000 into it and nobody enjoys it.
We'll open questions up to the audience, so get those hands up if you have them.
Question right up front here.
Great presentation.
Thank you.
Chronic illnesses like diabetes are complex because patients typically have a lot of different comorbidities. Does your application, does it address the uniqueness of each patient?
So the cool thing about IBM Watson Health is, although it's pretty new and it will continue to develop over the years, is it's much more intelligent than an individual coach like myself or even an individual physician. So the way it's being used in healthcare now is the physician will get all the information from the client, their very uniqueness, and although they can't think of the best answer off the top of their head, they enter that data into the IBM Watson Health, and it comes up with the best solution based on that individual's information. So that takes one human brain and IBM Watson Health, the equivalent of 100,000 human brains, and gives this individual individualized prescription for their needs.
If this would work, there we go.
Oh, Luke.
You mentioned that Ascension Health is working with you. This product involves daily involvement, right? Daily interaction with the app.
So there's going to be a couple options on the application, but if you're going through the curriculum, it's going to be daily interaction in regards to at least logging your food, tracking steps, which again will soon be automated with tools like Fitbit and Garmin and the such. But as far as the actual program, it's only once a week. So the curriculum requires you to sit down one time a week for 10 to 15 minutes and complete your wellness assignment for 16 weeks straight.
Now, you mentioned that Ascension Health specializes in treating people who are perhaps maybe described as being in the lower or lowest economic strata. Mm-hmm. How do these people without smartphones and perhaps computer access work with this?
So there's actually some great research by Pew, I think it is, that shows even the low-income communities, 60% of them have smartphone access now because smartphones are becoming cheaper and cheaper. So right now it may be difficult to reach everybody, but 5 years from now, my iPhone 4 will be $10 to purchase online. And at that time, hopefully, we can get the insurance agencies involved to cover that initial smartphone cost for the individual if they don't have access to one already. And then we will be getting involved in the community to explain the technologies to these individuals, walk them through that start process, and then help them along the way as well.
Question over here to your left.
Great job, Miguel. I've done a program on bodybuilding.com where the whole program is free, and there's awesome video content and diets and everything like that. And their whole, I think, monetization strategy is to cross-sell. While you're on the site, you're going to buy all this other stuff for that program. Are there products or prescriptions or other services or content that you guys want to monetize within the program?
Yes, so the actual application will be completely free, similar to bodybuilding.com. And then within the program, we'll have apparel, we'll have healthy supplements, we'll have other programs such as our Next Level program, which focuses on high school athletes, getting them ready for the collegiate level. We also have optimal living programs that'll be in there, and then smaller modules such as 30 days into mindfulness, 30 days of yoga, small things like that where they get in for free and then we offer them some other products as well.
This is more of a suggestion. I think you have a great program, and it's going to be even better long range. But one of my suggestions is simply to partner with the Women, Infants, and Children program in the United States Department of Agriculture. I used to work within that program, and I worked heavily at one point with the state breastfeeding program coordinator. And there's Nursing at Home, I think, is another program. But the gentleman over here mentioned so many of the lower income don't have smartphones, and I'm always shocked by how wrong that is. But the other thing is by partnering with those types of programs, they do have access for women in the lower, and not even just women, men too, but participants in the lower economic range where they will provide them with smartphones based upon health conditions and if they're pregnant, all kinds of things like that. So I really think your next step might be to partner with someone like that because they might even provide with that smartphone access to your program.
What was that organization called again?
WIC is basically WIC. And then, of course, USDA.
Okay.
Question in the back here for you.
Nice job in the presentation. Couple quick questions. I'm curious of how you came to your price point, and I'm also curious with your American Diabetes Association endorsement, how you're leveraging that or using that to your advantage.
So at the price point, everything, I was actually worked at a great gym for a while, and it's a trainer to client margin. And so we knew that with automation, the more automation we could have, the higher our margins were going to be, so we could continue to drop the price and still keep operations going. So it's an equation that was put together by Net Profit Explosion, which is a fitness business coaching school. With the Diabetes Association right now, one of the leaders in Wichita, who's actually known nationwide, Dr. Justin Moore, I'm really trying to get him involved in videos, but also they have 3 physicians on their board who are wanting to start prescribing the platform as soon as the platform's done and getting rolling with it. But I really want to get them in regards to their knowledge, because they've seen type 2 diabetics for the last 20 years and they know what those pain points are. So getting them involved in our video series is my main objective to start, and then hopefully working with them to get some grant funding as well in the future.
Same general area.
Quick question. One, you mentioned a 16-week program. What is your completion rates for the program? And then 2, what tools or things are you doing to ensure or drive up higher completion rates?
So for the first pilot study we ran, it was only 10 people, so we had a 90% completion rate, which was nice. The second program, there's 25 people, and 20 of them completed the program. Now, we knew at that point we were going to need technology to get behind it, because the Excel sheets and the online forms just weren't cutting it. So allowing them to not have to use multiple apps in multiple different areas would make it much easier, a lot faster delivery, and that was our next step to, okay, time to step it up, get some technology behind this to make it as easy as possible for the end user. But our biggest thing to drive people to completion are what I call nudges, and that's where those automated messages come in. Sense Health did an amazing clinical research study where they showed that if you give an individual just one daily text message, it increases engagement by 40%. And they've got clinical research on that. So those are what we use as our main source of keeping people reminded to, even if they're not doing their best, continue to try and try and try throughout the program.
Question, lounging on the couch.
Good morning. Excellent presentation. What I heard you say was that you were working with doctors who were identifying diabetics and people who are predisposed to being diabetics. What I didn't hear you say was, what about the rest of us who might not be aware of these risks? So what steps are you taking for the general population to go through and maybe answer some questions or feed in some data, and from these data be able to glean, oh wow, it looks like if I continue down this path, I've gained 15 pounds in the last 4 years. What's the probability that I'm going to be pre-diabetic or diabetic? What steps are you taking to, in V.2, V.3, whatever, to embrace that?
So my big vision is health education, not only for the entire population, but also in school systems. Because when I was in school, I learned nothing about my body. I learned nothing about how I was going to go through puberty, or how I was going to age, or when my body was going to start breaking down, or what illnesses I might face with the lifestyle decisions I made. So big vision is a curriculum that can be involved for anybody, from here's what you should expect from a baby to when your kid's 10 years old. Here's what you should expect as a middle schooler, as you go through high school, as you become an adult, and then using the IBM Watson technology, an individual inputs their biometric scores from their physician, which our next step is to connect that with the EHR system so it's automatic. And then based on that information, okay, here are your risk factors, here's what those line you up for. And the American College of Sports Medicine makes that information accessible to anybody, but to be able to automate it for an individual so they could do it right on their application is a goal of ours.
All right, we probably got time for one more from the crowd, right here.
Miguel, good presentation. My ears perk up when anybody says diabetes, because I had a sister that suffered from type 1 and passed when she was 32 years old. So I know there's nothing you can do for that situation, but I'd like to know how you funded your company. Have you bootstrapped it, or did you get some investment money? Or
so up till about 2 months ago, I actually presented at 1 Million Cups in Wichita in March, and everything was bootstrapped to that point. The entire system cost me about $1,200 a month to run, and the clients were covering that cost for me, so wasn't making any money, but I was still being able to collect the data and develop the program. We recently got some funding, and we're actually just kicking off a seed round right now. So to build out the application, we've got enough to start it, but we're in a fundraising round to finish it out.
All right, I think it's like 9:26, and I still have one question I'm curious about. So, implementing Watson, what has that been like? How did you decide on Watson versus any other AI machine learning platform, and what's it been like to implement that?
So we're very, very early stages with Watson, and they have actually worked very well with us. Maybe because they don't have a ton of people trying to implement it all the time, which is nice. But I gave them a call, talked them through my project, and they connected me with the closest resource here in the Kansas area. And we've just started on which packages we're going to take from them, and then the team we go with to develop our application uses those packages and builds them into the application. But they're very, very easy to work with.
That's awesome to hear. How long are they telling you that whole situation is going to take? I mean, is this like
it's going to take a while.
It's going to take a while?
Yeah.
Like year, 2 years?
We have mapped out to have a MVP out for Ascension Health in 12 months.
All right, cool. Well, okay, so last question. My own curiosity is done. What can we as a community do to help you?
Point me in the direction of the angel investors.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right, round of applause. Thanks, man.
Thank you, guys.
Have I been talking to myself this whole time? Yes. Okay, wonderful. All right, so let's do the fun part first. We've got a special announcement from a special friend, Nathan Kurtz, about E-Day at the K. Here he comes, working his way up to let's just give him a round of applause for walking to the front of the room. Why not?
Thanks, Zach. So, as you guys know or may know, Entrepreneurship Day at the K is in its 5th year. It got rained out in May, and so in the back are these flyers. Your announcement sheet has the info as well. What we're asking you to do is if you bought a ticket before, please go to kaufman.org/eDay, register, and then you'll have to go to the box office at Kauffman Stadium and exchange your ticket. You get face value for face value, because your old ticket won't work. If we're playing the Indians, by the way, so any Cleveland fans, go Royals. Checking. There's a fancy color-coded map on the back showing where the tailgate is as well. So from 4 to 6, we're going to have an awesome tailgate. We're bringing in artist entrepreneurs. We're going to connect these two communities that are doing great things but don't often get together. So please come for the tailgate, 4 to 6. Register, tell us you're coming so we can have food for you. And then if you already bought a ticket, please exchange it at the box office. If you did not buy a ticket yet, follow the link at the site as well. Buy a ticket, come and join us. I think the tickets are $18 now. There's dynamic pricing, so if you need to exchange, do it sooner rather than later if you can to save some money. But hope to see you guys. It's in 13 days, July 19th, Kauffman Stadium. Thanks.
Thank you, Nathan. Yeah, clap again. There you go. I don't think there's any other community where you can just drop dynamic pricing and everyone's like, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. All right, so playing off that a little bit, the connection between entrepreneurs and art, Guild It is happening tonight, and actually take a look at this. You know, we say Guild It every week, and we kind of just glaze over it a little bit, but Mark English and Sterling Hundley are going to be there. It sounds like it's going to be absolutely fascinating, so take a look at that. It's probably going to be worth your time, I would imagine. Also, last day today for Midwest Export Challenge. Take a look at that as well. It's something from UPS that I hope Tommy has applied for. Valuation of early stage companies happening tomorrow at ECJC. If you're a startup in Kansas City and you're at that early stage, coming up on a seed round or bootstrapping, this is so important. Going to VCs and not having any clue what your company's worth is a really dangerous thing. So take some time for that. Second Fridays happening July 8th at the Village as always. And E-Day at the K that Nathan already talked about. Now for the fun part. Mug Club. All right, so who has been to 1 million cups 10 times or more? Show of hands. All right, keep your hand up if you already have a mug. Already have a mug. Or wait, put your hand down if you already have a mug. Sorry, this is my brain. I'm still waking up, you know, I didn't drink the coffee. All right, somebody has to make a choice for me. This is big stuff. All right, Matt Danzler. Matt Danzler, you've been coming long enough. I don't know how you don't have a mug yet. Here we are. Tell us why you come every week.
Well, I mainly come to see you, Zach. I come every week just to get a pulse of what's going on. I'm newer to the Kansas City area. I've been here about 4.5 years, and it's just amazing what's going on from an entrepreneurial standpoint in the area. So it's a great networking event. I may or may not talk about my business a little bit as well, but it's just a fantastic event, and I appreciate all that you guys do for it as well.
Thanks, Matt. All right, and with that, we're gonna switch over to Stink Boss, and we're gonna bring Stink Boss up.
Good morning. I get the pleasure of talking to you about this great topic called stink, okay? We're all familiar with it. We all had it. We've all maybe sat next to it. Surely not this morning, but nonetheless, we all know what it is, and it comes from our shoes and our athletic gear and things that we wear. So I'm going to talk to you about inventing the defeat of stink. My name's Hillary Philgreen. I'm a mom. I'm a professional person here in town. My profession is actually in industrial distribution. So I didn't know a whole lot about how to defeat the stink. I only knew that I lived with it. And so I'd like to show you a little bit of a clip of a video and see if some of this sounds familiar to you. Oops, maybe not. Maybe not. Technical.
They play. They work. I run and run. She flips, he slides. They all pedal, splash, and punch. And inevitably, they sweat. And with the sweat of playing hard comes the scent of victory, often referred to as stink. Uniforms I can wash. Practice clothes, play clothes, no problem. Socks, check. Even the victor can be cleaned. But what about this, and this, or this, and these, or those, and oh yes, those? You know, if the sweat isn't going anywhere, the stink isn't either. So what do? Spray? Powder? Toss them? No, you Stink Boss it. Stink Boss is an all-in-one dryer, sanitizer, and deodorizer that combines ozone and heat to eliminate odor rather than just masking it, and it does it in as little as 30 minutes. With its enclosed container design, Stink Boss allows heat and ozone to reach and kill bacteria on all surface areas of whatever you put inside. Just place your stinky, sweaty gear inside, close the lid, select your settings, and turn your back on the stink. Stink Boss utilizes ozone technology to effectively disinfect and deodorize your gear from the inside and out. Stink Boss uses no additives and requires no replacement parts or batteries. There are no filters to change, and it's environmentally friendly. Even my kids can use it. And Stink Boss can extend the life of your shoes and gear, saving you money. All in one small, sleek home appliance that fits comfortably and inconspicuously wherever you need it. So come on, turn those lucky shin guards into time saved, money saved, and stink gone. You deserve it. End odors. Don't just cover them up. Bring the power of Stink Boss into your home. I'm telling you, it's a real game changer.
All right, so the beginning of every invention starts with inspiration. This is my inspiration, my stinky family. We are a very active family. We hike, we canoe, we go to basketball games, soccer games. My children run cross country and track. We are always on the move. And one day coming home from a long day of practices, my youngest in the back seat having played soccer, my oldest gets in the car from a very sweaty basketball game and takes off his shoes and puts on the slides, and the whole car fills with this horrible stench. And I sit there and I think, oh, something has to be done, right? So I identified the real issue. The real issue was stink. We all had it. All the moms that would sit next to me, and the dads too, we would all talk about when you open the door to the gym or the workout area, how bad it would smell. We would all talk about the odor in the trunk. We would talk about all the different kinds of sports gear that stunk and the ages that stink actually begins at, because we think it starts when they're in puberty, but the truth is there are toddlers that stink. And that stink follows you all the way through life, right? I looked at the marketplace and I thought, well, what else is out there? What are people doing? Because what I was doing at the time is I would buy those little sneaker balls at the store and I would drop them in their shoes, and they smelled really perfumey and they would smell up the bag, and my kids didn't like that smell. It was a smell on top of a smell rather than getting rid of the true odor. Okay. But there was a plethora of these kinds of products on the market. And what that told me was it wasn't just me. And it wasn't just my community. It wasn't just the mom sitting next to me. It was, in fact, a worldwide problem. Everybody in one way, shape, or form faces this kind of odor. So I researched the root cause. The root cause of stink is not your sweat. Okay? Sweat is just simply what the bacteria feasts on. And it is the bacteria eating that sweat and then excreting that causes that smell. So if you want to get rid of the smell, you can't treat the sweat. You have to treat the bacteria. You have to kill it. Okay? Well, I'm a busy mom. I run here, I run there, I'm a professional, I have a full-time job, I'm a wife, I volunteer, I do a lot. And when you have a great idea, one of the very first questions you have to ask yourself is it a great idea that I am passionate enough about to really commit to? Because it has to move from dream to commitment very quickly. And I'm running out of time. I realized I couldn't do it alone. I had to engage with other professionals. I had to meet with engineers and talk about how could we kill the stink. I had heard that ozone was used in hospitals to kill bacteria, and I wondered if we could get ozone as a gaseous type of medium to penetrate the gear and kill the stink. I met with marketing people, I met with video people, I had to network in our community to figure out what it is we could do to actually eliminate the stink. We decided that we could use ozone to do it, and we built a prototype in a garage. We tried it out, and prototypes are oftentimes not exactly the way you think they're going to go. I thought it would take years to develop this product. I got lucky. The very first prototype worked. My kids' shoes came out of the prototype and they smelled fresh like they did out of the box. And I thought, oh my gosh, we've got it. How does it work? We dry the shoes because bacteria likes to live in moist environments. We pipe ozone through. Ozone embeds into the bacteria and blows it up and disinfects it that way. And then ozone also has this very refreshing smell. It's a natural smell. It smells just a little bit chlorine-y. It's that smell you feel and sense after a thunderstorm. Okay, it's just fresh right out of the box. So we invented the defeat of stink. I'm just a regular mom, came up with a great idea, knew I couldn't do it alone, knew I didn't have all the expertise to do it, so I had to meet with engineers, I had to do all of that, had to get together with the community. And then the consumers took off. Okay, we were fortunate enough that we have run out of product twice now. It's a bad, good problem to have. We had forecasted and we blew our forecasts out of the market, or out of the water. We have been featured on The Doctors. We have been featured on the Discovery Channel's Newswatch TV. The local media has been very kind to us. We were on Fox 4 News and KC Live. And if I know we're in Missouri, but just in case anybody around here watches any KU basketball, our community reaches out so wonderfully, and Bill Self was so terrific to do some photo shoots and some mild endorsements for us, because let's face it, he understands stink. Don't tell him I said that. Yeah, you think? I don't know. What did we learn along the way? We learned that we needed more models. Okay, our current model fits a size 14 to 16 high top shoe, military shoes, boots that come up just above your ankle, flip-flops, shin guards. But we learned that people were creative with their stink. If it was a dog collar, they tried putting it in there. If it was their boxing gloves, they tried putting it in there. Their wrist straps, their knee pads, you name it, they had tried it. So we are expanding the market. Trying to build new, larger machines, a travel machine, and then just general line expansion. And then one of the other key things that I learned was that this community in Kansas City is terrific. I didn't know how to make a promotional video when I started, but that video in the beginning, the Bark Productions, one of the partners of Bark Productions, his son actually plays basketball for the same team that my son played basketball for. The media people, the marketing people, 2 blocks over from me lives one of the most marvelous marketing people in Kansas City. Engineers, they were just down the hall and to the left of where I was already working. Okay, they weren't working on the same product, but they knew about electrical engineering, they knew about mechanical engineering, and they could help. And so that's really the story that we have. We came to market with an idea that a mom had. We reached out to a community that embraced it and brought it to market. And right now we're in the midst of de-stinking the world one shoe and one little kid at a time. So thank you very much for having us. There is a promo cup or a promo code. It's 1M Cups. And if you want to visit our website at stinkboss.com, if you enter that, you can get 15% off of de-stinking your stink at home and free shipping. So with that, I'll open it up for questions.
Great presentation. Love the product. I have a tangible product as well. I know how hard it is to finance your inventory. So how are you juggling the financing of inventory to scale the business and as you're developing all these other products?
I won't tell you that's easy, okay, because it's not. You're talking ordering containers of products, and it's expensive. And that, quite frankly, is why we've missed the mark twice now, run out. Because we were trying to be conservative in what we were bringing in, but yet make sure that we had enough to fulfill the market. I was fortunate enough that I work in a company that I was able to pitch the idea to, along with some engineers, and they were willing to invest financially in it and help us bring in the inventory, help us build molds and that kind of thing. But even at that, I have to stay true to the ROI. So it is a balancing act. When do you get that inventory in, and how fast do you think it's going to take off?
Okay. And how are you selling right now? Are you just selling through Amazon? Are you plans to go to retail? How do you plan on scaling, and when do you plan on launching the other products?
Our plan to scale, we're on Amazon. We have been on Untitled Boxing. We're featured in Touch of Modern. We are getting ready to launch on Zulily. And next month, one of the original Shark Tank people started a program called Shark Find that's going to feature it. So it's very much an online type of product at this point in time. We have taken the product to market at various events and offered them for sale. But one of the things that we realized very early is that's a big box. Okay? And you go to an event, and although your target market is there, they are busy, and they don't want to walk around with that. Okay, so, and the retail issue is there with that size box. It takes real shelf space. And so when you go to a Bed Bath & Beyond or whatever, one of their concerns right off the bat is, wow, that's a lot of shelf space. So although we're featured online, that's really our go-to market. And as soon as, when are we going to roll out the new products? We plan to roll out our first new product within about the next 6 months, and then keep building it from there. But it gets back to your question about scaling and how quickly you bring in the inventory.
Curious just how big of a market this is. Kind of hearing you talk, I'm segmenting down to moms with children that probably have very active children in a very specific age range. They're also looking for products like this. I don't know if you have a good sense of how big is this early adopter market you're focusing on.
And that's a very good question, because our initial target market from focus groups pointed very directly to just what you said. Mm-hmm. The active mom with the active kids, and that market started to shrink, although that market is huge. But nonetheless, it started to funnel down. And then what we learned was that it isn't really just that. It's the construction workers that spend all day in their boots. And so even though you were talking to the active kid about his basketball game and how bad he stinks, his dad was sitting there or standing there and had his boots on, and they stunk. And so it built out from there. So even though our target market is that, it expanded very quickly to people who work in restaurants and are in their shoes all the time. We've had a lot of comments from nurses and healthcare workers that spend a lot of time in their shoes and they stink. And they were looking for ways to minimize bacteria growth when they had been walking through healthcare facilities. Okay, so that market really just keeps going like this rather than going like this.
Perfect. And I can start to see all these tangential groups. You mentioned military, you mentioned maybe athletic departments. I'm looking at your Amazon reviews right now. So $149.99 for the price of the product.
Yep.
Who do you think has the biggest pain that could maybe pay more than that? Have you found any research indicating certain groups would pay more?
There are certain groups that will pay more, and they are groups that that want to be able to deal with it in a more industrial sense. Okay, what I've created is a product for your home, but there are products out there that are in a more industrial sense, or they want to be able to do more products at one time. So the hunter-fisher market is big, but that gear is larger. Hockey skates are larger, they're taller, and so that machine will be bigger and able to handle that, and therefore will cost more money.
Awesome. What's your next biggest assumption you're trying to test with this? Is it around which customer? Is it around the product design? Is it around acquisition strategy, distribution? What's your biggest headache you're dealing with right now?
My biggest headache is how do you take a brand, Stink Boss? Everybody likes the name, everybody giggles when they hear it because we get it, but how do you take a brand for a product that nobody knows exists and make it a household name? Okay. You don't walk into Walmart today and say, do you have a machine that will take stink out of my shoes? Okay. So even if I put it in Walmart, you're not going to find it. I have to find a way to build that brand outward through networking with people, word of mouth, really great marketing, so that that name becomes synonymous with how do I get stink out of my house? It needs to become the Kleenex.
Thank you, experts. We will open up questions to all you other stinky people.
Got a question for you here, Hillary.
So how effective is it at cleaning? Have you done any tests on that? I mean, is it like 99.7%, or I mean, or do you even know? Or
we have done some mild testing from a scientific standpoint of how much bacteria it really cleans, but it's very difficult to pinpoint it because what we don't know is how long you're going to run it, how much bacteria was in your shoe when you put it in there. So we have backed off trying to make those kinds of claims to people because you can run the Stink Boss anywhere from 30 minutes to 6 hours. Okay, so it all depends on just how bad you stink and how long you run it for. But the proof really is in when you take your shoes out, they don't smell anymore.
I guess that's all that counts, right?
It is all that really counts, right?
Question here in the back.
Okay, so when you began, you really saw, is there a market there, and then you really have a passion for it. But how did you go out and see if the intellectual property was protected or how you could protect it? How did you go about that?
Once again, our community is great in that, and there is a local law firm that I worked with that did the research to make sure that we were not infringing on any patents that currently existed, and then helped me put together a patent so that the product could be patent pending.
Yep. Question on your left, Hillary.
So on? Yeah. So you had quite a bit of development because you've got tooling, you've got engineering,
yep.
You've got, can't tell from here, but all the electronic certification underwriters, FCC, and so on and so forth. What about health concerns? You're generating ozone, which is not necessarily something, depending on the quantity of ozone you're generating,
correct,
to be around. So it's human health, but also damage to the product itself, because ozone can have an effect of deteriorating certain materials that may be in the products that you are trying to sanitize. So can you comment about that?
You bet. You are right. Ozone in certain concentrations can have a harmful effect. It's pretty widely known the state of California is typically one of the most conservative in terms of regulations and making sure that things are safe and all of that. And what we did was we did a lot of research into what are safe levels of ozone in this kind of product. And we made sure that it was well under any California statute or guideline for safety. You don't want high doses of ozone. The Stink Boss is an enclosed compartment. It produces ozone even when it's open, well under accepted levels. And then in addition, for those of you who care about the science of it, ozone is this really interesting thing. It has a very short shelf life. So its shelf life is dependent on how quickly it attaches to something. So we wanted an enclosed compartment so that the ozone would literally bounce around inside the compartment until it attached to the gear that was put in it, and then it would attach to that and it would explode the bacteria. And then on the back of the unit is a filter that never needs to be replaced, but it's a filter that allows air to escape, but that the ozone molecules will actually attach to and make sure that they blow up before they escape.
Question in the back.
How have you been able to leverage your industrial distribution experience to, I guess, to make your supply chain more efficient?
I was fortunate in that I had some understanding of how product moves around the globe. Okay, I understood how containers came from Asia or other countries. I understood about freight forwarders. I understood about how you finance that process and what the expectations of factories would be and the burden that it can place on a distribution house to house that product. So that was a great leveraging aspect for me, just that knowledge base and then the people that I work with that I could pick their brains and figure out how to make it come to fruition.
Another question on your left against the window.
Hi. I'm somebody who I box, and so my boxing gloves would be one of the things that would be a good candidate for this. So I'm actually looking for something along these lines. But I'm curious, there are a lot of products that you can get that you put a boxing glove on, it shoots air up through it, it does the drying out. Once you get it dried out, a lot of the odor goes away and so forth. So how does this compare in efficacy compared to something like that? Have you guys done any sort of studies to say it gets them this much less stinky than the various products? Because there are products that do similar things. They don't do the ozone and they don't do the containment, but they certainly do the air and make the thing breathe and so forth to get them dry, which is really the core thing for, as I've experienced so far.
It is one of the core things. There are a lot of dryers out there in various shapes and sizes, and I won't say that they don't work at all, because they do kind of work. The problem is they don't really work. That smell will still be there. And so it will help. It will dry up the moisture that bacteria will grow in, so it will help minimize it. And we have tested them. That was one of the ways that we came about our design, is figuring out what didn't work or why it didn't work or what could be done better. So yeah, you're right. They are out there. They help. But they don't get rid of it, and they don't do anything to work on the bacteria in terms of killing it. They just help prevent it from growing.
Sure, I guess, and that would have been one thing that would be interesting as a consumer to me, is for you to provide some statistic. Kills, compared to existing products, kills 95% more germs and leads to, et cetera, et cetera. That kind of thing would be compelling to me, just as a little feedback.
Okay, that's a great idea. Yeah. Thank you.
Question in the back.
I actually had a couple of suggestions to help with your product. Some of us over a certain age remember our mothers having blow dryers that had a little cap that they'd put on, and they would dry their hair, with that. And then along came the blow dryer that was actually portable and whatnot. So understanding your scalability question that you have, I carry in my trunk this thing that I can make as big or as small as I want to stand up grocery bags. Okay, so it's completely expandable. So if you're concerned about the size and shape of your box, potentially your engineers could design one that could expand or contract to fit the size of the object that you're putting in there. So that's a design idea that with panels or whatever, because the guts of it would still be the same, it would just make it bigger or smaller to fit the object and also the size of your shelf. The second idea that I'm thinking is there's more than ozone things that deodorize and kill germs, and the other one is UV rays, and you see that a lot of times in health places as well. You probably explored that as well. So depending on whether the object is sensitive to ozone, it might degrade, but it could use UV and or a combination of the two, and you could probably speed that up as well too. Have you explored the UV angle as well too?
I did explore UV. The difficulty with UV, twofold. Number one, don't ever look into the light. And number two, UV will only kill what UV touches. And the biggest problem with athletic gear are all the creases and crevices that exist within your shoes or your shin guards or whatever. And if you can't get the light into the crevice, you can't kill the bacteria there. And ozone, differently, is a gaseous, so it will, gaseous property, so it will permeate the pores of that athletic gear and kill the bacteria. So we did look at it. It just didn't work like I wanted it to work. I really felt strongly that if I was going to put my time and energy and effort into it, by golly, it had to work, right? I didn't want to create just a product to put on the market. I wanted it to actually do something.
All right, Hillary, we actually have two final questions for you. First, is there a warranty on your product?
There is a warranty on the product. So if you get it and for whatever reason it doesn't work, you just send it back.
Okay, fantastic. And for how long?
It's truly a 1-year warranty, although we have said it's a lifetime warranty. It works. We don't get them back because they don't work.
Perfect. Okay. And lastly, what can we as a community do to help you?
The biggest thing are ideas of how we build this brand outward, how we get the message out, how you inform people, how you talk to people, ideas for how we reach them, where you think they are, opportunities. That's the number one thing we need help with.
Okay, are all of you marketers listening? Good. Okay, find Hillary. Thank you so much. Great job.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
And thank you to all of our wonderful community members. Thanks for coming. We are excited to see you next week. And I encourage everybody, bring an extra person, bring a friend, bring your mom, dad, the whole kit and caboodle. We'd love to fill this room up. Next week's presenters will be Paw Party and Under the Zigba Tree. See you next week.